So yesterday was quite the eventful day, and it turned out to be way more than what I thought it was. Um, some crazy woman didn't like my sign, walked down the alleyway with a bike, holding a bike tire, and then a minute or two walked back, and actually came to my front door and rang my doorbell, and then parked her bike in my yard, came and rang my doorbell, which was on my Ring camera, and then walked around to get her bike and threw a rock through my window. So now I have a fucking window that I have to replace. So, and I got this obviously all on camera. And so I figured something like that, I had to call the sheriff's department. I mean, I so did not want to because I figured I knew how it was going to go. So I called 911, tell them this woman bashed my window. They send this deputy over, and he, dark beard, you know, and didn't have any sunglasses on, didn't have a hat on, you know, never seen him before. So when he pulls up, I walk outside, and two of the meth heads who are instrumental in fucking harassing the shit out of me are sitting outside with smug ass grins on their face. And the first thing that dude says to me, the sheriff, as he's walking up towards me, is, I was just a few blocks away and I didn't see anything happen. Well, of course, because it was in the alleyway, you know, right beside my house. So those idiots are watching smug ass grin. So he comes over. You have to understand that coming and parking in front of my house, there's no way he didn't see that sign in my front yard that's 5 foot tall and 2.5 feet wide, you know, with red letters painted on it, you know, protecting child traffickers is wrong. Neil Gross, protecting child, you know. So he comes over, and I told him I had this on video, and he wanted to see the window, because I don't think he really even believed me. And so I took him around. I was going to just walk him through the house, because I didn't give a shit. And he was just like, no, is it from the outside? So we just walked around the outside. And it was weird because I kept apologizing because I know they don't have, they can't possibly like me. I am making issues that Neil Gross would just rather go away. And he obviously saw the fucking sign, so he knows who I am. So all he kept saying was, I've never dealt with you before. I've never dealt with you before. He had to say that like 3 or 4 times, to the point where my ego kind of got involved with it. Good morning. My ego kind of got involved with it because my whole thing was, well, of course you haven't dealt with me before. I'm not a freaking criminal. Why would you deal with me before? And so he asked me if I wanted to press charges. I said, no, you know, no, I just don't want it to keep happening. And because I knew they weren't, I just wanted it to be over with. So he walks back to his car, and those two fucking meth heads are still out there, just a grinning away. And he sits out there for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. I walk back into the house because I walked back in the house, went back to what I was doing. And because I was ending up doing laundry, so she did it right in front of me. That's how I knew it was her. So I go to bed last night, and you have to understand, their fucking shit that they are fucking hitting me with has been off the charts lately. Off the freaking charts. And so last night, I'm laying in bed, and I'm fucking bitching at God out loud. My dogs don't even really want to be in bed with me because I'm just like, you know, if this is the way it's going to be, they're just going to be able to attack me and do shit to me, and there's nothing, and nothing's ever going to get done. And what do I do? And I'm just so sick of this. And why do I have to be hit by their weapons? And blah, 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 blah. I want this to be over with. So I go to bed and I go to sleep. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, they wake me up with this shit, beaming it in my head that is giving me a fucking headache. It was awful. So I get up, I go to the bathroom, I lay back in bed, and I'm just like, I give up. I give up. Fuck this. Fuck this. And I go back to sleep. And then about 5:15 this morning, I was in that state where I wasn't asleep, but I wasn't awake. And so I'm not on dope, dumbass. The whole thing about it is that it doesn't have anything to do with dope. Not for me anyway. So I'm halfway in and out of sleep, and I hear this voice, and it only says 3 words, and it's a commandment: take your place. And in that fugue state, I was kind of dreaming. All of a sudden, I'm standing where I was the day before in front of that cop, only this time he had sunglasses on and that sheriff's ball cap thing on. And what I realized was, it wasn't Neil Gross who tailgated me from Hy-Vee a mile and a half down the road to Casey's through a stoplight, driving an inch and a half to 2 inches away from my bumper. That wasn't Neil. The cop that I had never seen before that was standing in front of me yesterday, it was him. And the interesting part yesterday was I was so, at the end, all I wanted to do was get whatever little respect I could get out of this. So I stuck out my hand to shake his hand, and he willingly shook my hand, and I looked him straight in the eye and said, "Thank you for your time." Because I was very nice, I was very pleasant. And that was the last thing I said when I walked into the house. Well, take my place, for me, with everything that's been going on, tells me that, because what I'm getting told when I do shamanic journeys, and have been told for a long time, and I keep fighting it over and over and over, is that no, I am not the vessel for the Antichrist that they raised me to be as a kid, but heaven considers me like the darkness bearer, and the darkness is here to separate the wheat from the chaff. Let me point out, after that solar eclipse, and they did that abomination of desolation ritual, which I said they were going to do, when they turned on CERN and had that solar eclipse, right after that is when that government dude came out and again shook my hand and looked me straight in the eye. If anybody knows anything about the shit that I was taught by Aquino and all of that, witchcraft, physical touch and the eye contact, I don't even really need the physical contact, but there's nothing better to develop an unbreakable bond than have someone willingly touch you and you look into their eyes and make that connection. That's what I did to that dude who came out, and there was an F4 tornado a mile away from our house. And now the same thing, and since that happened, now Denise Mathau is trying to assert that Thomas Schoenberger is dead, and Tara Joyce is doing what she's doing. If it's true that she's doing what she's doing with Daniel Dowd, oh man, could you make yourself look any guiltier? And what I have found, when I went to bed last night, I was pissed off that they were hitting me with their weapons, but what I was really pissed off at is that smug ass smile they always have on their faces. Those 2 meth heads had 2 smug ass smiles. And that cop, he had a smile on his mouth, but in his eyes was contempt. I was so irritated by those smug ass smiles. And it has been my experience that the most effective way to wipe off that smug ass smile off of their face is to make them afraid. That's the reason why Doug Mesner offered me any amount of money I wanted, if I would only just stop. Because he's afraid, because he's figured out that what I've been saying is the truth. I'm not crazy. I'm not lying. I've just been saying as it is. But he doesn't have that smug ass grin on his face anymore. Thomas doesn't have this smug ass grin on his face, especially if he's trying to convince people that he's dead. You know? Daniel Dowd doesn't have that smug ass thing. Phoenix Enigma, Corey Daniel, that's the whole reason why he was shitting his pants immediately. Because from what I understand, they practice. They practice, which means they were aware of what I was saying more than anybody. Out of all, they were more aware of it. Because it's shit that they practice. So they knew what I was saying was the truth. And so, take my place. The whole thing about the fucking darkness is that it feeds on fear and paranoia. And what I find is that what people are afraid of the most is their own freaking secrets. And no, I'm not in Nebraska anymore. Not in Omaha. Close by, but I'm not there anymore. But the thing about it is that what they're afraid of the most is their secrets. That's what they're afraid of, is their secrets. So the darkness is going to go inside of them, and then within them, draw to them all of the shit that will expose their secrets. It feeds on paranoia. Their walls are closing in on them. That's how it works. I've seen it happen before. That's what I was trained to do. That's what I was trained to do as a kid. I'm just doing what they trained me to do. It's just I'm using it against them. And in the end, I can guarantee every single one of them one thing. They're all gonna fucking bow. They're gonna take a knee to heaven before this is all over. Every motherfucking one of them is gonna bow. And the only way to do that, to cut through their fucking egos, is through fear. They're not gonna do it unless they're afraid and they feel like they have to do it. And what I've come to terms with, this is since Owen died, what I've come to terms with is that try as I might, Jesus Christ is not going to show up and save me from the very path that God won't let me deviate from. And that's the whole thing, you know? If I could just be some normal Joe that just sat around and grew flowers and loved animals and was nice to people and all that joy and all of that stuff, I would love it. But that's never been my path. And so yesterday, this morning after I realized that, I ended up going and actually casting again. Because casting right now, I have been told over and over and over that I'm supposed to cast, but I'm expected. It's my responsibility. I send out the dark. And everyone that I've done it to doesn't like it, you know? They don't, because it's awful. It's awful, and it's not fun, and I don't like being here. But I can't escape it. So yesterday, when that cop willingly shook my hand and looked me in the eye, this morning, I went back there because it's not even astral projection. I just go back where I was already there. And at the time, everything that's happening with Neil Gross is now taken on a way personal level now. Because I was able to touch. They sent me the least of them. I don't know who this dude is. But obviously he showed up, you know. I have a feeling he's another Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller was this cop that is the only one who could deal with me in Algona. I don't even know what this dude's name is. It was inconsequential to me. And I don't think he ever said it, and I never asked him, you know. And but it was him that chased me down that day. That was why when I saw Neil at High V a week or two ago, it caught me off guard because he didn't look the same. And I thought it was the beard because Neil was trying to sport this beard that made him look like a mafia dude. He looked dirty. And I thought it was because he shaved off the beard. That's why he looked different. But the dude that I saw yesterday who came to my house, that's the dude that tailgated me. Because this morning when I was presented him with sunglasses and a hat on, which is way easier to visualize than if he had sunglasses and a hat, visualizing him without. But in the dream, the very person I was looking at him, the dude that I just saw yesterday, that's on videotape. I looked at videos of him this morning just to see if it looked right. And it was him. He willingly bound himself to me before I ever met him. When he was saying, I've never dealt with you before, the reason why he said that 3 or 4 times is because he knew he was the dude who tailgated me, you know? And so, because it was just the weirdest way to phrase something, you know? What do you mean you've never dealt with me? What does that even mean? And he said it like 4 times in the conversation. And so now I have a fucking broken window I have to deal with, you know? And like I wasn't already financially stressed. But what I realized this morning was, because I've been bitching at heaven, because heaven put me in this situation. I agreed to go into this situation a long, long time ago. But I don't see where things are shifting and changing like I think. But it's because I wouldn't take my place. Because I don't like to send out the darkness. And when I do it, it's always almost on an emotional reaction. I'm pissed off when I did it. And so that's changed now. And so now I cast on that dude yesterday. When he went and sat in his truck, the thing about it is when I look you in the eye and I touch you and I do what I do, generally people feel it. They may not understand what they feel, but they feel it. And for me, looking at it, it was great because that cop and those 2 fucking meth heads, the way they were looking at each other googly eyes with those smirks and those nods and all of that, there's a definite connection there, which I can utilize. And I've been looking to get into that thing for a long ass time. And I was presented with it yesterday. So all I'm saying right now, because this is going to be a short live, all I'm saying right now is that I know people watch this. Keep an eye on all of them, because I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I am fascinated to see what's going to happen. And I think that what it's going to do is wipe the smiles off. Those smug ass smiles are suddenly going to go off of people's faces, you know? And in the end, I'm just telling you, my opposition, this is for you. Every fucking one of you is going to bow before heaven before this is done. I guarantee it. 2 sides to this game. You're either on God's side or you're on the side of the child killers. There's no other sides. And there's no sitting on the fucking sidelines. Everyone chooses. That's what this game is all about. And if you are on the side of the child killers, the darkness gets you for an eternity. The darkness, the minute you get out, you won't ever fucking choose evil again. Ever. I guarantee it. But that's this live video right now. I just wanted to point out yesterday and this, it was the crazy woman. It had nothing to do with anything. But heaven, I think, instrumented it because everything that happened as a result was just divine providence. It just now looking back at it, that's what it was. It was divine providence. Heaven was answering my prayer because I have been bitching. And heaven told me this shit ain't gonna stop until I make them afraid of me. And so that's what my fucking intention is. I'm gonna use what I was trained to do as a child to make them afraid. Let's see if it works.